A quiet neighborhood in Texas, a loving family, a pregnant woman, and a husband who claimed he came home to a nightmare. What really happened inside that house would become one of the most controversial murder cases in Texas history. The date was January 11th, 1999. It seemed like an ordinary winter day. But before the night was over, everything would change forever. Belinda Temple was 8 months pregnant. She was excited to welcome her second child into the world. No one knew that her future would be cut tragically short. Her husband, David Temple, was a respected high school football coach. To many people, he appeared successful, admired, and devoted to his family. Together, David, Belinda, and their young son looked like the perfect family. From the outside, their lives seemed happy and stable, but behind closed doors, things were not as perfect as they appeared. Investigators would later uncover signs that the marriage was under serious strain. Prosecutors later alleged that David had begun a relationship with another woman named Heather Scott. The defense disputed that this proved he planned a murder. Still, the affair became a central part of the case. Then came the day that shocked the entire community. Police rushed to the Temple family home after an emergency call. David told investigators he had returned home after taking his young son swimming. Inside the house, he said he found his wife dead. Belinda had been fatally shot. Their unborn baby also did not survive. The tragedy devastated everyone who knew the family. A mother and her unborn child were gone. Friends, relatives, and neighbors struggled to understand how something so terrible could happen. At first, investigators believed they were looking at a burglary that had turned deadly. The house appeared disturbed, as though someone had broken in. But as detectives examined the evidence more closely, questions began to emerge. Something about the scene didn't seem quite right. Gradually, investigators shifted their attention toward David Temple. They began examining every detail of his timeline and his statements. According to prosecutors, the burglary had been staged to make the crime look like a home invasion. The defense strongly denied that allegation. Investigators also focused on David's relationship with Heather Scott. Prosecutors argued it provided a possible motive. The defense disagreed. In 2007, David Temple went on trial. The courtroom heard weeks of testimony as both sides presented their cases. After considering the evidence, the jury found David Temple guilty of murder. It was a verdict that stunned many people. David Temple was sentenced to life in prison. For many, it seemed the case had finally come to an end, but years later, everything changed. The case took a dramatic and unexpected turn. In 2016, David's conviction was overturned. An appeals court ruled that prosecutors had failed to disclose evidence that should have been shared with the defense. The ruling did not declare him innocent, but it granted him a new trial. Attention then turned to another possible suspect discussed during the new proceedings. The defense argued this evidence should have been presented to the original jury. Whether it would have changed the outcome became a major point of debate. With his conviction overturned, David Temple returned to court once again. A new jury would hear the evidence from both sides. In 2019, prosecutors again argued that David murdered his wife and staged the scene. The defense argued there was reasonable doubt and challenged the state's theory. After hearing the evidence, the second jury also found David Temple guilty. The legal battle, however, was still not over. This time, jurors could not agree on the appropriate sentence. Another hearing would be needed to decide David's punishment. In 2023, a new jury sentenced David Temple to life in prison. More than 2 decades had passed since Belinda's death. David continued to challenge his conviction through the appeals process. But in 2025, an appellate court upheld the verdict, leaving the conviction in place. David Temple remains in a Texas state prison. He becomes eligible for parole in 2044, although parole eligibility does not guarantee release. More than 26 years after Belinda Temple lost her life, the case continues to spark discussion. Some believe justice was served, others still have questions. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoy carefully researched true crime stories, don't forget to subscribe for more.